Now we're... Well, yeah, now we're officially fired.
Joy and, you know, all the good feelings for being live.
Oh, it looks so terrible because we have like our logo there over our logo. So already we're...
No, you misunderstand. Logo over logo is the new minimalist logo design. It's what's hip and in right now with the corporate design.
So it's so amazing. Okay, I did actually, funnily enough, I did actually have an article that swung on me at the very last second. I believe it was today. No, it was yesterday. Oh my god. So that'll be a fun thing to go over. Because although I'm not an expert in China, I can probably take a few shots and guess some of the... Actually,
I too am no expert on China, but I can still ridicule an article about them.
oh. I go first.
Well, I've only got one thing, so...
I'll take the dilute content from that.
Alright. Give me a second to pull everything up here. Alright, so the article I bring you today is pretty basic, but pretty important. It's a little story, if you will, about how a completely reasonable person who's not crazy, who's not alt-right, could in fact be a little bit hesitant about getting a vaccine. You know, not someone who's crazy or an anti-vaxxer, and it paints a nice picture. What's up?
No, I'm just...
Okay. So, it's a little long, but I think the read is worth it. So, imagine you're a normal person. The year is 2016. Rightly or wrongly, you believe most of what you see in the media. You believe polls are broadly reflective of the public opinion. You believe doctors and scientists are trustworthy and independent. You're a decent, reasonable person who follows the rules and trusts the authorities. You take issue already, huh?
Yeah, because it's like...
I promise you it's going somewhere.
Do people, like, I mean, I'm kind of wondering, be depressed, really? Oh,
Yes.
actually, that way, like, believe.
Yes. And
That's
I
a
forget his name. There was a pretty high profile guy on YouTube. I think he was called out by Crowder and a few other people because he literally said, you don't have to think about it, just listen to what they tell you.
Oh yeah, that was Ethan from HQ the fucking... Yeah.
So when you ask, are there people that just blindly trust anything? The answer is yes.
Well, I mean, but he's a fucking idiot, though. Right? Like, he is just an abject fucking idiot who's coddled by wealth and has like a, what's the words I want to use? Over heightened sense of ego. Because he has like he sells like a jacket that's like 3 or 4 colors, right? It's like, I don't think that type of person will ever think about any decision they make in life. aside from like dodging an uncommon, I can't speak. I can't speak now. Besides dodging a oncoming car, I don't think they can do choices in life. Sorry, I had a stroke there.
Well, look, I have met them. There are people that just believe, what they hear on the TV, and and this is from the perspective of someone that broadly agrees with, what they've seen on the news and what they have heard experts say. But I promise you, this will go somewhere.
I think using Ethan for example in text, like coddled brats as an example.
I mean, maybe. All right, so imagine all that, and then imagine your shock then when Brexit, which you were assured couldn't happen because it was a fringe movement led by racists for racists, and it happens. The polls, which widely predicted it wouldn't happen, were wrong. The experts and pundits who told you day after day that it wouldn't happen were also wrong. Oh, well, you say, these things happen. Imagine that soon after Brexit, Donald Trump is running for president. You are told by the most trustworthy media outlets that he's going to lose. Some experts even say his opponent has a 99% chance of winning. Imagine waking up the morning after the election to discover that the pollsters, experts, and politicians you still trusted were wrong again. Now,
Every day.
the racist monster
Every day.
Told would never get near the White House is the leader of the free world.
I mean, this is about Joe Biden, right? I mean, obviously, this is a story about how horrible it is to live under Biden. Like,
look.
The $5 gallon gas and the terrible Afghani pullout and the
different strokes for different folks.
Dystopian health mandates.
One man's monster is another man's president.
I want to make sure we know who we're talking about.
How did this happen, you ask yourself? How could everyone I rely on for good information be so wrong? It was the Russians, they tell you. The Russians did Brexit, and they got Trump elected too. Imagine that for the next 3 years, day after day, the media and politicians you still trust keep you up to date on this story of Trump's collusion with Russia. They tell you how, when, where, and why. The dossiers, the whistleblowers, the peeing prostitutes. Imagine your desperation for things to somehow make sense again.
Wait, hold on. The peeing prostitute? You mean the thing?
Again, this is showing this whole thing is predicated on how someone who's, well, basically completely on the left could still be reluctant to get a shot in the arm.
Because he had prostitutes pee on him? That makes no fucking...
I don't know, that's pretty unsanitary. It would make me concerned.
Like, first of all, it's fake. Second of all, if someone's having a goddamn... if someone has a vaccine for me, I mean, hold on, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that, like, a lot of the doctors, right, who have made vaccines probably had someone piss on them. Or some other freaky thing that would probably, if you heard it from their mouth, you would not want to take that vaccine.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
So if you're using that as your measure stick, probably gonna be like, you're probably gonna look back in horror.
Well,
that's all I'm gonna say.
It hasn't been, it hasn't come full circle yet. We're leading up to it. Okay, so Here comes the Mueller report. Hard evidence of foreign meddling in Brexit and the 2016 election is coming to set the world right again. Imagine your shock then when you discover that Brexit had little to do with foreign meddling, and Robert Mueller has very little to report about Trump and the Russians.
Fucking
The
surprise.
story, which dominated your news intake for the better part of 3 years, slowly dies down. Then it's gone. No one talks about it anymore. Imagine that bit by bit, you're starting to feel that the events you were told would not and could not happen, not only happened, but happened without some sort of malign interference. Instead, millions of your fellow citizens simply voted for them. In the American case, it turns out many of your fellow citizens who simply voted for Trump come from states that have been devastated by an opioid epidemic enabled by a corrupt system of incentives involving the Food and Drug Administration, doctors, and Big Pharma. You might want to take note of this. It comes up again later.
Yeah.
Again, you ask, how could this happen? And again, the media outlets and political representatives you've always trusted have the answer: racism. Your country is racist, they tell you. If you're white, this may seem strange to you. Other than a handful of idiots, you've never met a racist. If you're an ethnic minority immigrant like me, this seems even stranger. Why would people in one of the most welcoming, tolerant countries in the world want to convince themselves their country is racist when it's so obviously not? But the evidence is right there on your TV screen. Imagine the horror as a famous and beloved gay African-American actor is assaulted by MAGA hat-wearing thugs who racially abuse him and put a noose around his neck. In a primetime interview, he cries while talking about it.
It being fake.
Yeah. Imagine your outrage as you see news reports of a bunch of MAGA hat-wearing kids from a religious school contemptuously confront a Native American elder. Professional adult commentators on
Jesus.
TV tell you the kid has a problematic face. And while you abhor violence, it's hard to disagree. Imagine that for days you watch coverage of these events. Yeah.
Hold on. So it's like, yeah. Oh, it's like someone's like, oh yeah, man, that kid has a punchable face though, and you're like, ooh, I don't like violence, but man, yeah, it's a punchable face. It's like you realize that undoes all of your arguments, right? That it's like you're basically saying it's okay because you look smug, so I punch you in the face. You realize how
I agree, Dros.
You realize how thin of a fucking line that is, and to you cite that as an argument?
I concur that it's pretty flimsy.
If only we lived in a different world.
Imagine that for days you watch coverage of these events with expert after expert, pundit after pundit, sharing and fueling your outrage. Maybe your country really is racist. Maybe you're racist. Were you always just blind?
I think everyone's a little
bit. Sometimes. Damn that song. It's amazing. Imagine that soon after, however, the Jesse Smollett story turns out to be an attention-seeking hoax. He made it all up. Imagine you also quickly discovered that the Native American elder was the one who confronted the kids, and not the other way around. If this is such a racist country, you ask yourself, why would they need to make up stories of racism? And you ponder this. You remember that for years now you've been expected to go along with others, more elaborate make-believe stories. You're expected to understand that gender is not a binary, as school, your eyes, and your own experience have led you to believe. Whatever you learned about biology growing up is not only wrong, it's pathological and harmful, according to the American Psychological. What? According to the American Psychological Association, you no longer know how many genders you're expected to be able to recognize. You do know that asking questions is dangerous. Imagine that you still want...
Are they building an argument for or against their case? I can't tell. Like,
it wraps up in the end. The belief in favor of what you and I would think.
it's weird though, because it's like a lot of arguments they make, just like you can just literally flip the language around, and it's just like, are you like arguing for or against your point?
Well, I think you'll see when you see what the point is at the end. Like I said, it's a little long, but it's worth it.
Like, I hate racism, guys. I think we should have a more diverse and inclusive society by segregating everyone based on race. Sir, what?
For the record, that's not what this article claimed, but...
no, but that's an actual argument.
I know. Damn regressives. Anyway, imagine that you still want to believe the experts and the commentators, but now that requires to believe that your country is racist, that men are bad, and that gender is a social construct, which is an idea you still don't really understand. It's at this point that a pandemic breaks out in China. You are initially concerned, but as terrifying scenes increasingly emerge from Italy and other countries closer to home, it is clear that something big is happening. You watch nervously as politicians give press conference after press conference, flanked by experts to explain the situation. President Trump shuts down travel to the United States from China. He has been widely condemned as a racist repeatedly in the past, and the same explanation is given this time. It's not just Americans who tell you Trump is racist for calling a virus that emerged in China a Chinese virus. In response, the mayor of Florence advises Italian citizens to fight Trump's anti-Chinese bigotry by hugging a Chinese person. Shortly after, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, one of the most respected and powerful Democrats in this country, visits Chinatown in San Francisco to explain that there's no reason tourists or locals should be staying away from the area because of coronavirus concerns. Thank God, there are some sensible, non-racist people who aren't overreacting, you say to yourself. Imagine watching as Trump doubles down on his racism by claiming the virus may have come from a lab in Wuhan. Nonsense, you think. You're more concerned with how best to protect yourself and your family from this deadly disease than with its origins at this point anyway.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey. Imagine. Pause it for...
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Really
I'm
ready
go
for this ride. I'm buckled in.
Yeah, take a spiritual journey outside of your... Right. Okay. Imagine if Trump drank water. Right? Imagine if Trump said water was good for you, and that having water in your body was a positive thing. A healthy amount.
Well, I personally don't drink water. Fish poop in it. I drink soda.
But it's just like this argument that there's like, imagine if Trump said a thing and then you come to find out it was true, and it's like, it's obviously not true, it's racist, and everyone's in on this super racist conspiracy. It's like, no, you're just a fucking idiot.
I can't argue with that. Where the hell was I? Let's see. You consider buying surgical masks or using homemade ones. You've seen visitors and tourists from Asian countries wear them, and they've been through things like this before. So maybe it's best to follow their lead. But the country's chief medical experts tell you not to wear masks and to focus on washing your hands instead. As lockdowns are introduced around the world, You diligently follow all the rules. You stay at home. You only go out once and live off savings or government grants. You do your best to keep your hands clean, to not touch other surfaces that people have touched. Some political representatives make the solemn decision to shut down beaches, parks, and playgrounds, encouraging everyone to stay indoors. You are proud to be doing your part.
Encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrongly.
Yeah. Beatings will continue until morale improves.
In some cases, it's like, oh yeah, there's one COVID case, lock that shit down. Go ahead.
Thanks to you and millions of your fellow citizens, the first wave of the pandemic overwhelmed certain hotspots, but it does not devastate the healthcare system at a national level. While thousands sadly die, you've helped to protect those around you. Imagine your confusion as the same people who spent 3 months telling you not only that masks don't work, but that there are several reasons why you shouldn't wear or purchase them, suddenly introduced mask mandates. We're following the science, they tell you. This seems to make little sense, but a pandemic is no time for questions, and who knows, maybe our understanding of the science evolved. As you cautiously go to the supermarket, you notice that masks have made people less likely to socially distance. You remember reading somewhere that bicycle helmets work similarly. They give the wearer more confidence, and as a result, is often more accident and there's often more accidents and injuries, not fewer.
Almost like they don't work and are counterproductive.
I too agree that helmets do not work and are counterproductive.
Well, I meant the masks.
Yeah,
helmets, debatable. Because
I have not liked helmets since I was a kid, but they have saved my life a few times. So
yeah, that's where it comes in. It's like, I don't know, man. I've had a helmet on. It's helped. Unlike a mask, like I would go ahead and like if it was like back in the biblical times and it was like between Jesus, right, the helmets and the murderer who is masks, I'd be like, yeah, let Jesus go every day, right? Because bicycle helmets solve a problem, masks not so.
Yeah, well, no, technically masks do solve problems, just not always the problems people want them to solve.
Yeah, but it's like, but that's the thing.
Not the ones they were wearing most of the time.
Well, the problem is everyone's using the really terrible cloth masks that barely do. Like,
or what I love is when you walk in to a hospital and all the doctors and nurses are wearing it on their chin, but will tell you to put it on correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, that pisses
and they're
me
super
off so
close
much.
to each other. Yeah, and the whole
Now,
thing.
I bite my tongue because my grandma needs to get medical attention, but otherwise I would start swearing at them.
Yeah, like whenever my mom went to the hospital, I couldn't even go down to the hospital. Like I had to go through all the normal security checks, and told me whenever I called down, they're like, "Yeah, you can't come down here."
And understand, it's not that I'm irritated they want me to wear a mask. It's that they don't apply the same rule to themselves. Either apply it, universally, or don't apply it at all.
Yeah, I'm just glad that where I live is.
It's not that big of a deal here either. The only place you really have to wear it is at a hospital. Which, I mean, at least you're less likely to get other diseases, I guess.
Yeah, you may have been right? You may be right on like our length of topics, because we're not like what half through your article and it's almost it's 25 minutes.
We're a little more than half. It's the page is longer.
But yeah, so I'm glad I overpicked top.
All right, so silly people, you say to yourself, if only they would follow the experts. You turn on your TV and learn that shoppers at your local supermarket aren't the only ones who have been ignoring the rules. Nancy Pelosi arranged for a salon shutdown by government decree to open privately for her, then publicly blamed the business owner for violating the lockdown. California Governor Gavin Newsom is seen eating dinner at one of the most expensive restaurants in America with a large group of unmasked people indoors. In the UK, Neil Ferguson, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name. I'm just going to say Ferguson. The epidemiologist whose projections were used as the basis for the lockdowns appears to have broken his own rules to get some action with his married lover. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, drove halfway around the country to ensure he had a better place to isolate. The journalists who berate him for this are later found to have attended an unmasked indoor birthday party in breach of the rules. The lockdowns continue. Then a man is killed in Minneapolis by a police officer, arresting him for a petty crime. The man is African American. The officer is white. The arrest and murder are captured on video, which quickly goes viral around the world. Imagine... that's a good point, but you know which one. Imagine your horror as you watch an officer of the law kneel on another man's neck until he passed out and later dies. This is disgusting, you say to yourself.
Yeah, it's totally the net.
Book at him. Yeah. Overnight, a huge campaign for racial justice springs up around the world. No one explains what racism had to do with the incident, but they don't need to, as long as you know by now. The West is racist, America is racist, and the police are racist. Therefore, anytime a crime has a white perpetrator and an African-American victim, there is only one possible motive. The fact that an identical incident led to the death of a white man named Tony Timpa in Dallas in August 2016 is never mentioned for context. While the lockdown rules remain in place, the protests against injustice split into two public spaces. Tens of thousands of people crowd into the streets of major cities. Few of them wear masks, and social distancing is non-existent. Clashes with police ensue, and in the United States, protesters loot stores, destroy businesses, attack residents, and start fires. A retired African-American police officer from St. Louis named David Dorn is among dozens of people who are murdered in the chaos. The media describes these events as mostly peaceful protests, and I will refer to our fancy picture up here in the top corner.
Yeah. But whiskey. Only when. How else are you gonna get that spicy chicken? Not on fire.
I guess your argument really comes down to, since Wendy's Twitter posts are on fire, their building should be too.
I mean, hey, I see our profits going up in flames. It's probably not the positive. It probably does not denote the positive I'm trying to portray here, but
I feel like this advertising campaign is on fire.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire.
Man, our parking lot. Oh, we should probably not.
Shit. So, the media describes these events as mostly peaceful protests, as broadcast reporters stand in front of burning buildings. After months of harsh restrictions, the media and political class offer no criticism of protests that violate every element of lockdown policy. After months of telling you to stay at home to avoid spreading COVID, doctors explain that rather than being a potential form of super spreading, protest is a profound public health intervention. Big tech companies go into overdrive to stop the spread of what they call disinformation. Alternative points of view regarding the efficacy of masks, as well as the origins of the virus itself. are increasingly blocked, flagged, and censored. Attempts to discuss the negative impacts of lockdowns on health and mental well-being, especially that of children, barred from going to school, are suppressed. As the year runs on, with a pivotal U.S. election looming, Trump promises a huge push to develop a vaccine. Then, Senator Kamala Harris, running for vice president, says that if Trump advised people to take a vaccine, she wouldn't take it. On the eve of the election, a major media outlet releases a damaging report about Hunter Biden, son of presidential candidate Joe Biden. The story alleges corruption that may implicate his father, as well as drug use, paying for prostitutes, and more. Twitter and other social media platforms immediately prevent the story from being shared.
I was just about to say that you immediately fucking buried.
Yep. Good job, YouTube. Head
Good
pass
job.
for you.
Wait. Tablet magazine.
The media lines up commentators to claim that the story was, yet again, Russian disinformation. Once Hunter's father wins the election, it becomes clear that several key elements of the story are likely accurate. And the laptop from which the information was recovered is not in fact a Russian decoy, but Hunter Biden's laptop. Meanwhile, in the UK, the publicly available number of COVID patients and deaths nationwide turns out to have been inaccurate. For some time, any British citizens who died at any point for any reason after having tested positive for COVID were counted as dying from COVID, even if it was from a car crash. The official figure is later revised again. The number of people who are in hospital because of COVID also turns out to be inaccurate. Now that a bigot is no longer president of the United States, closing national borders to visitors from other countries is no longer considered xenophobic. In fact, it is considered widely advocated in the media. Likewise, it is no longer considered racist to detain people at the border, to put them in holding cells, to deport them, or simply turn them away. The supposedly racist conspiracy theory that the virus came from the lab in Wuhan is now also open for discussion. It even looks like the most credible explanation of the origins of the virus. Imagine your horror as you learn that the reason thousands of people died in the first wave of the pandemic was that elderly patients with COVID were allowed and sometimes compelled to be released back into nursing homes. In fact, it was a personal decision by New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, brother of CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. Governor Cuomo's publisher later suspends promotion of a book he wrote in the meantime. It's about his leadership during the pandemic. Meanwhile, Texas and Florida, which largely remained open and avoided draconian lockdowns, seem to have made out okay. Kids have been going to school, businesses have stayed open. You look at COVID death rates by state, and neither Florida nor Texas cracks the top half. It is at this point that vaccines become available, become the main focus of government policy and media commentary. The same people who told you Brexit would never happen, that Trump would never win, that when he did win, it was because of Russian collusion, but also because of racism, that you must follow lockdowns while they don't, that masks don't work, that masks do work, that social justice protests during the pandemic lockdowns are a form of health intervention, that ransacking African American communities in the name of fighting racism is a mostly peaceful form of protest, that poor and undeserved children locked out of shuttered schools are still learning, that Jussie Smollett was a victim of hate crimes, that men are toxic, that there is an infinite number of genders, that COVID couldn't have come from a lab until maybe it did, that closing borders is racist until maybe it isn't, that you shouldn't like Trump's vaccine, that you must take the vaccine developed during the Trump administration, that Andrew Cuomo is a great leader, that Andrew Cuomo is a granny killer, that the number of COVID deaths is one thing and then another, are the same people telling you now that the vaccine is safe, that you must take it, and that if you don't, you will be a second-class citizen. Understand the vaccine hesitancy now. See, I told you it would come to a point at the end.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking for a thing to bolster. They're not wrong. I mean, kind of what, but it's not even so slow now. I mean, we all heard Jim, they're gonna make a second class state, that you either get the jab or stay out and shit like that. I mean, I'm honestly surprised by how many people have just gone along with it. I mean, I realize a lot of people are just forced, right? But holy hell.
Yeah, and the whole article is basically from the point of someone who agrees with the left. And it shows how someone even on the left could have some serious concerns, not because of, whether or not they think the vaccine works or, anything like that, but totally based off of every single time the media and experts have said something, they've then come out and said the opposite thing. It basically shows the hypocrisy.
Okay. Keep fucking with sound things. Right. Yes.
I'm gonna have to find that that technical difficulties slide I made for another event.
Well, it's just like
put it up.
Yeah, it's
every
just
time we pause.
Just minor fire. I'm gonna remove the fire because it's like too much like watching fucking Dead Wing stream. Trying to make sure I'm like not showing any influence from anybody, like subconsciously, and realize the fire look at that. COVID thing, I've watched it happen. Oh shit. Oh well. But this whole thing, I've been watching it brew for like for the last 2 years now, and like at first it got me, right? At first I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be the plague, and then
no, I agree. That's what I thought because that's the information we were getting.
so I'm probably guilty of it as people, so maybe I can't criticize. I'm going to.
Well, it's not really being a hypocrite when your mind is changed based off the data you've got.
Well, it changed pretty quickly once I actually saw, once like the dust settled for a little bit and we started seeing that, and it's like it's not even one. Like you can still go look right now through Google search. Not
Well, as an example, like in my age group, in my rough health, the rate of death is incredibly low. And I will also point out I did in fact catch COVID, and it was basically a light head cold for me.
Yeah, I mean,
I got over it.
I caught COVID and I didn't even like it didn't even phase me. Like I didn't even get any symptoms at all. So that for me, I mean, it was just a non-starter really. So I don't really. I mean, I don't realize not everyone's gonna be like me, but holy fuck, like bubble wrap the vulnerable and let everyone get on with their lives, right? That's what quarantine's supposed to be.
I agree. Like the most vulnerable, you want to give them guidelines and stuff to protect them. And you want to be more cautious. Like I live with my grandma, so there's concerns there, right? But you don't want to hamstring everybody for the sake of saving like a couple of people. It's a bad idea.
Yeah. I've also been seeing like the whole thing on kids. Some danger.
You mean like hormone blockers?
Or just, I mean,
Segway.
well, I can't say again. Like they did this to me when I was a kid too. For like a lot of medication.
I had a very bad reaction to ADHD
Yeah,
medication. Good old Ritalin.
yeah. I had ADHD medication that made me so like it fucked me up so bad that I was basically counting the couch fibers back of a car.
Yeah, for me it ended up causing hallucinations. So,
Yeah,
it's kind of a problem worse than the original one.
yeah.
It's like those medical commercials that are like, talk to your doctor about this new miracle drug. Also, it has all of these side effects that might include these incredibly horrible and painful symptoms or death.
So
But talk to your doctor about getting AstraZeneca.
So I feel like this has just like become part of the norm now, and like even it the fact that it became this far into the norm this quickly shows that it was probably already like people just gotten used to high level.
Yeah, which is very disappointing because the whole point of this country is to be liberty first and tyrannical, government control never.
Okay, this is
Also,
a good segue.
you want to link the stream to me in chat?
Supposed to thing for
For the thing.
yeah, I'm split between like three different.
You know what? For first podcast out the gate, I'll forgive you.
I'm not the best prepared. We have our share problem.
Just imagine we can have our share of problems every week now. Cause yay content.
Already 45 minutes in. We've worked all the bugs out. Excuse me while I now.
Yeah. Yeah, all the bugs. All the bugs indeed.
Segue. Not really.
My apologies.
Oh,
A
it's fine.
1,000 apologies.
I don't want to read this from Kotaku. Might read higher. It depends on if I'm.
You remember when Kotaku was good?
Yeah.
Me neither.
Actually, I mean, I know this is gonna sound bad, but yeah, I actually do remember Kotaku passable. I remember.
I literally don't because I only found out about them like after a lot of the political stuff in gaming.
Yeah, I actually Kotaku like well before like Gamergate, that because they used to have like little guides for. Right? Just had like a couple quick tips.
I remember
It's
back when listicle sites were good.
I have ad. Oh. Can't. I'm not gonna reveal. But I'll be right.
All right.
Be right back.
Ah, jeez. This intermission brought to you by Legs, running, skipping, jumping legs, by the makers of Arms. Get your legs today. This long, awkward silence has been brought to you by Muffy's Muff Cleaner.
Good
Remember
job.
to clean that muff.
Not feeling that radio song. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So, segue properly. Since America is such a free fucking place, right? Which, now that I've heard some opposing arguments from the Taliban, maybe not so much. but apparently, take a swing to China, not so free country. Or in the view of this author, apparently, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just a free country with caveat. Yeah. So, please free me from the bad takes about China's game. And it's just like, oh, I love this too. There's no one size fits all take when you're dealing with millions of diverse gamers. What about the diverse gamers that are in the camps that are being gamer worded?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, do you remember all the stories about like the Chinese gamer concentration camps they had for like people with game addiction who, from what they said, didn't always sound like they necessarily had game addiction.
Well, it depends on what you define as game. But yeah, they did have like there's a couple of ways we can take this. Like the Uyghurs. Let's just go with the Luke Uyghurs, right? Okay, they're killing Muslims. So right off the bat, it's like there's your first take. Second of all, yeah, like the gamer like re-education camps where if you game too much, they can, that you would have to go and go to a little camp where they would, I guess, beat you in the corner with a copy of like a Nintendo game on a stick or something. I'm sure China has some unique ironic punishment.
I'm suddenly reminded of that animation we've both seen of the fanboys fighting each other.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you take two rusty sides. That way, like every time you look at a video game, you get like horrific memories of like being beat in the face with like Super Mario. Be great, right? So there's that, and then there's like what they actually do gaming restrictions. Like, and they are bad regardless. Like the government openly telling you cannot play video games is bad. Like the ESRB right now is not a government organization, guys.
A long time ago when I was first buying Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I got ID'd for that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
made me angry.
I haven't been ID'd for a game, I don't think, ever.
And the funny thing is I was so confused by it, like by the fact I was being ID'd for a game. The person just assumed I was 18. I wasn't.
Hey, you filled the part. You gave the ID, right? He's like, yeah, it all checks out. Like, oh, really? I'm gonna look at it.
What's funny? No, I didn't even have an ID on me.
Oh,
I was like 16. I
yeah,
didn't
you're
get an
fine.
ID yet.
That's the thing, though. That's what another thing when you go like 17. It's like realistically, because a lot of people judge. How do you judge the line between 16 and 17? A lot of people are just.
Well, and the other thing is, a lot of the stores tell their employees, "Oh, you have to enforce this. It's a law." And it's like, well, one, no, it isn't. It can be store policy, but you can't say I'm literally not allowed to sell it by law. It's like, no, there's no one gonna arrest you for that. It's just a guideline.
I think there might be some type of fine, but that's probably the. I can see why a store would want that, but it's just. Well, when I was a kid, it seemed. Now I'm like, whatever. Yeah, go ahead, card you little motherfucker. It's like make sure you get all of the cutoff is 17. But
I know we're getting a little off topic, but this reminds me when I was working at my gas station job. A bunch of people came in, and most of them looked pretty underaged. And they're all getting stuff, and I'm keeping an eye on them. And the oldest looking one brings some beer up.
oh lord,
And he comes up and he's like, "Yeah, can I get this?" I said, "Sure." I scan it and go, "Can I see your ID, please?" He goes, I left it in the car. Said, "I'll be back." He walks out. Everyone else walked out with him and didn't come back.
wow.
I ruined their night, and I was laughing about it.
Yeah, because
What's funnier is like the managers happened to review the tape that night, and they couldn't really see what he was trying to buy very well on the camera, and they're like, what did you do to make all of them leave? And so I had to explain, and then they laughed and were like, "Oh, good job," because that's the kind of thing that they will do to try and ding a store for selling alcohol to minors.
yeah, like I know a friend that worked at a gas station, and he failed one of the promotion chances because they like someone and but he wasn't even underage caught it and like you didn't card me you.
What was even better is after that, because we had another employee that wasn't carding everyone like that they should have been carding. And so the manager comes to me and goes, "Look, I want you to card every single person that comes in here. I don't care how old they are." And I'm like, "What? Okay, you want me to card every single person." Now, keep in mind, I'm in a retirement community.
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, every single person." I'm like, "Okay, you got it." So I'm the only one on shift for the next 10 hours. All day long. Like, I had an old guy who's clearly like 110 come
Yeah.
through the drive.
You're gonna have it's gonna be one of those interesting you card like a Vietnam vet. Yeah, he comes in.
No, he had his VFW hat on.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, motherfucker, I fought for this country. You're gonna card me? Sorry, sir,
Yeah,
it's store policy.
Well, what's better is here in Arizona, you can you actually have gas stations like mine where you can go through the drive-through and buy alcohol. And so that's what he's done. He's in the drive-through and asks to buy alcohol. And I said, "Sure." I get the alcohol and I say, "May I see your ID?" And he gets pissed. He's like, "What the hell do you need my ID for?" I said, "I'm sorry, sir. As you can see in the window, our policy is to card everybody." It's like, "I don't have my damn ID." I couldn't help myself. The next thing out of my mouth was, "So you're saying you're driving without a license right now?"
Yes.
And he was pissed and left. And that was basically my day all day long. And what was better is that was my Friday. So after that night, I count my drawers out, put everything away. Manager asks me how everything went. I said, "Just fine." I go home. My next shift, I get in. Before I even get on register or anything, manager grabs me and goes, "Now, I know it wasn't your fault because I told you to, but stop asking old folks for their ID." Like they were getting
You
calls all day, every day for the 2 days I was gone of pissed off old people. It was glorious.
Man,
Sorry to take you on that tangent.
that's fine. It's fine. That's out. Yeah, so whenever any kind of news about China hits the internet, I brace myself for oversimplifications and commentators. Alright, already I kind of already have a problem, and I think for these for some of these other ones, we're not gonna. I think like for the next show, we're probably gonna have to pre-read some of these. But like just get based on how long we have conversations. But like I like how she's already just putting you down by speaking English. She's like, oh yeah, I brace myself because English speakers couldn't possibly vast complicated culture of China. Like really? Really?
Well, my thing is, do we want to? Because I've heard Mandarin, and I genuinely do not like it. It's a very abrasive language.
Yeah, I remember when Nuri used to talk about fucking German being. Which you're in a Chinese city dialect. I mean,
At the same time.
But in a country with roughly 720 million gamers, roughly twice the US population. Thanks. The context, as if I didn't know the population of my own country. The context behind the reason placed on Chinese youth isn't as straightforward as narratives around sinister, big government politics. Because the government in China is great. It's not bad at all. It doesn't do bad things. It's great. Anything bad? Like, who's paying Kotaku to have like Chinese fluff pieces? This is how they're gonna like.
I'm jumping ahead a little to that next sentence. This says starting September 1st, players under 18 are restricted to 1 hour of gaming a day on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and public holidays.
Yeah.
And that's it. My dad tried to restrict me to just an hour a day. It didn't work out the way he thought it would.
Yeah, well, they're gonna make that argument because I have kind of pre-read this. They're gonna make the argument that basically, it's not bad because people get around it by sharing their IDs, except that they're putting in like more facial recognition software. Ask them to re-verify themselves multiple times. Except for the fact that it shouldn't be the government telling you how much time your kid gets to be on the internet or in video games. Add to the fact that they're gonna cite.
Like, that's the parents' job, and if the parents are not doing their job properly, well, one, that's kind of their own business. Two, if anything else, you should be telling parents to do their fucking job.
Yeah, and like right here, they're gonna use this. They're like, imagine this is a parallel example. You're an American company and wants to dump radioactive waste into it. You're comparing gaming legislation to dumping radioactive waste. Already, yeah, I feel like you're so far out of the ballpark.
Shark already, yeah. It's like you went straight for the worst thing. Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Maybe you need to bring it back a little in perspective.
And then they're gonna be like, and then imagine you're a company that wants to dump radioactive waste into a lake. Environmental Protection Agency said that you can't do that, which they usually commonly overstep their bounds all the time. Regulations are specific Where does she live in? Like, there are many regulations that are very broad and vague.
You know what this reminds me a little bit of?
Rather than broadly applied to a populace. Okay.
So you remember the whole video game thing in the US where they're trying to ban video game? I mean, uh, well, aside from the video game one where they were trying to ban rock music. And like everyone was saying, well, rock music is from the devil and we got to censor it. You know, it reminds me a little bit of what Daniel Snyder, who is the lead singer of Twisted Sister, said, which is when they asked him, how would you prevent your, child from listening to music you found objectionable? And he put it forth pretty simply. He said, one, I'd look at the title of the album and the band. Two, I'd look at the album art because there's usually some key details like, is it full of satanic imagery or like someone being murdered on it? Then I probably wouldn't let my kid play it, listen to it. And he's like, I would read the song names. And if I still wasn't totally sure, I would either purchase it or rent it myself and listen to it first, and then I would give it to my child. It's like this whole thing is basically the government stepping in for parents that are too lazy to do their job, or for parents that don't think it's necessary for them to do it. Which in some cases with children, it's not necessary to micromanage them like that. Some kids actually are pretty good at, delineating their time, and they don't need someone looking over their shoulder. But that would be freedom in a communist country, and we can't have that.
What I find funny is her example is like, what's to curb, like, video game addiction? First of all, it's just going to encourage them to try and break because they're kids. I mean, come on. It doesn't even matter. Like, kids have no concept of consequence. Like, if you would have told
severely. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you would have told me at 14 years old, it's like, fucking people did this. Hey, 14, if you keep playing video games all the time, it's gonna get you into trouble. Didn't fucking listen.
Well, I mean, I think they also severely underestimate the lengths people will go to go around rules and red tape that's just BS. Even with all their facial recognition and all the other crazy stuff they're doing, like, people find a way.
Yeah, so they're comparing, like, looping it back, like, walk it back. They're trying to compare the EPA to this government that oversees print, online, broadcast media, basically the propaganda arm of the CCP. Which is great, because it's like, I guess, in the same way that EPA uses, like, iron hand to crush some companies that don't comply with it. I'm pretty sure that the communist government uses the NPPA to, like, cruelly crush people who...
They do have a good point. Maybe we should equate the ESRB with the propaganda wing of the CCP and, eliminate it because it's authoritarian and bad.
At least, well, I would say rework cancer, so they're the regular.
It goes back to my original complaint with the ESRB of, like, stores being like, oh no, it's the law. It's like, no, it isn't. It's a voluntary system.
Under the regulations, gaming companies are tasked with preventing minors from times instead of the parents, and to boot players after they've run out of their allotted time. That's, gotta love that. Gotta love the government saying, you have this much time.
My friend had that on his computer. His dad set up a I don't know what you call it. Basically, they'd log in and they'd have so much time that they could be logged into their account on the computer. And you know what that caused? They would just come to my house.
stunning revelation. Like I can't even be surprised to know that like as soon as like a regulation or something placed on somebody, that they would immediately try to find like backdoors and
Yeah, it's only natural, especially if the regulation seems unreasonable. Like in this case, it's like, oh, you can play 1 hour on Friday, 1 hour on Saturday. What was it? An hour on Sunday, and then it's like, and 1 hour on holidays. I mean, that's kind of overly restrictive. I mean, but it is a CCP, so par for the course.
oh yeah, Jingtong Zhu, the publishing manager at a Chinese gaming company, told Kotaku that Chinese games have previously been restricted to an hour and a half on weekdays and 3 hours on weekends and holidays. So the latest mandate, game tightening of the have already since 2018. You want to know one of the real reasons?
Pick me, pick me.
Yeah, go ahead. Open classroom.
Because when you're on an online chat room for a game, anyone can say anything uncensored, and you might get too much of a taste for freedom and decide that you don't like totalitarian rule.
Well, and they are trying to clean up all sectors of the country of the system because Xi Jinping re-election having their or whatever the communists take actual in the next year house and keep everything so that when you election.
It would be hilarious if like 100% of the people voted the opposite. It wouldn't happen because people are afraid to be murdered, but
yeah. Yeah, it's why do these rules exist? Live under a totalitarian system. Why it might be tempting.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Oh yeah, I thought you knew.
But I lost. Wait, because your totalitarian system, while it might be tempting, you're gonna ask a bunch of obvious questions. It's gonna be like, why is water wet? If I jump into a pond of water, will I get wet? What does it mean for my clothes to be wet? Does it get cold when you're wet? How wet do you have to be for you to get cold? Like,
and they're gonna completely circumvent the real question, which is, why the hell is there a puddle on my carpet?
So, while it might be tempting to generalize the Chinese government as inherently regulatory, because God forbid we do that. It's important to consider that the gaming landscape in China is very different than in North America. Oh, it's so dumb. It's like, I know you think it's because their government's inherently regulatory, but it's not. It's because the gaming culture is different. Like, yeah, it's different because of regulation.
Yeah, they say the gaming culture is different in China. Yeah, well, you know what? The gaming culture is different in prison too. That doesn't mean it's a good comparison. You can't make a cop out like that. It's different because it's enforced to be different, not because the people chose it to be that different.
Oh yeah, gaming's Danielle Ahmed of Nico Partners told Kotaku that around 92 to 95%, while most Kotaku read if they're left. I guess since I troll here and just to see stupid fucking headlines like this, I guess I'm in. Might think of first party titles or self-contained indie games as what video games are. Most Chinese players will probably think of a free multiplayer online battle arena like Honor of Kings or a gacha game like, yeah, because it's literally all.
It's because they can't afford the games otherwise, because the population is so poor and impoverished in most places.
Also, there are strict regulations on what you can and can't include in video games. Like, I don't know if you remember this. At one point, they copied PUBG and they made like a communist official version of it. And it's like lay down for war and like war for peace or some stupid shit. Yeah, it's just like you hitting each other with like little balls and just lie down and the world becomes a better place or something. It's something incredibly fucking stupid. But like there's so many rules. Like you can't show blood, or if you can show blood, it's like a certain amount. Like can't include these type of people. You can't have anything that says anything bad about the government.
It reminds me of how Germany demanded that Wolfenstein, the original 2D one, was censored.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, go online and look at all this shit. It's not a fun time.
Yeah, and it's most importantly, it's not the gamers choosing this as their culture. It's what is thrust upon them. And that's important to remember.
This means that gaming addiction, delinquency, two qualities associated with these type of games, much more prevalent. I mean, it could also be that, like, you know, these games came around, right around the time that the average Chinese household suddenly got a bunch of, and because, you know, suddenly, like, either printing money, attic wealth, you know, a lot more.
I just had an interesting thought about this. So, if just a ridiculous amount of money started being spent on this stuff, I wonder if it was such a large amount that it was helping to control inflation, and that's one of the reasons it was a problem for the government.
It is partially.
Because in China's case, they try to control everything to the tiniest minute degree, including their currency, so that they can manipulate it for world trade. So I could see if they realize, oh no, people are spending money on something we don't want them to, how that would be a problem.
I mean, just I don't know if spoilers.
That's weird because mine is just capturing what I tell it to. It doesn't capture the whole screen. Your Discord's gone crazy, Dros.
Yeah, basically, it comes down to these games, China, opportunity, where they have a lot of money. Because class in China is puffing out Chinese embracing capitalism. Their, you know, unique manipulation of world currencies. Oh.
I mean, I think that it's also a good point that China, and I could be wrong, but I don't think they have the same kind of gambling restrictions a lot of the Western countries do. So that could also be playing a really big part in it.
China is arguably less worried about what I've seen anyway. Like China seems about regulating content rather than actual. That makes sense.
Say that again, you cut out. They're more worried about regulating what?
They're more worried about regulating the content rather than saying it wrong.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, because it's like they could, for example, like the PUBG thing. You can have the PUBG game, but it can't. You have to alter it so far that it is. You can take the main idea, but you can't have like. So they're more worried about like the killing in the game, of the actual. Well, I guess that might about the actual. Whatever.
Yeah.
But whatever. Maybe I just totally went. But fuck me. Whatever. But regulators are also part of why Chinese gaming turned out very differently compared to gaming in other. For example, Zhu mentioned that China's 15-year-old console ban was also motivated by video gaming. A ban
Which, you know, a ban on consoles would only lead people to go to more of the freemium stuff that's not banned. I mean,
well,
if you're gonna ban consoles, it's like, and people enjoy gaming, they're gonna find another way to do it. So instead, they went to freemium games that suck money in your soul.
which, to their credit, Satan ban arguably led.
Oh damn! I like how we just keep jumping ahead of this article.
Well, it's because like I've already pre-read it, and some of the arguments. It's one of those things. It's like they couch their arguments, and one of those things. They're like trying to make it seem like not government. Like, okay, first of all, their argument that you would think that the Chinese government is inherently regulatory, right? Right, but then she states that regulators are also part of the reason why that gaming turned out differently, to the point where they would ban consoles. Isn't that being inherently regulatory, though?
And yet they will still make them and let Soulja Boy sell them with his name.
Yeah. And then China's lucrative 360 million esports industry poses another. But it's not okay. It's not that they're anti-gaming. They are anti-gaming, but they see it makes money. And they're willing to bleed the Western country as much money as they can through sport.
I feel like it's important to point out here that they literally have prisons where they have forced people to play certain games where you could win virtual items or had a chance to roll for them that could be sold for real money. And like that was your job in prison. It's like, no, you will play this game 10 hours a day. You will get these items so that we, the prison/government, can sell them for profit. Yeah, no, they were doing that. I think it was with PUBG and CSGO. I don't remember the article. It's been a while now. But yeah, it leaked that basically they're forcing prisoners to play specific games to get the random loot that could then be sold online for money. And yet they will still ban said games for their general population.
Also, I like this. It's like, so it's so esports, you know, and they have Yoho is a big company that Chinese has, a gaming company. So it's pretty ridiculous to make broad statements about it, right? And it's like about how the Chinese government, what level, what branch, any specific individual. All levels. Which branch? The communist one. Any specific individuals? Xi Jinping.
I think it's important to note here that every single business and company in China has to have a Communist Party representative on their board to make sure that they're doing everything exactly like the party wants them to do. And therefore, every company in China is in fact run by the Communist Party. I will also point to their argument about this one company, what was it, Miho, which
Oh
is
yeah.
which is ranked high in terms of what
Income. 88th in terms of income.
That means nothing. I mean, look at Tencent. They're a massive company and they ruin damn near everything they touch.
Yeah, well, that's not entirely true, but yeah,
I'll give an American example. EA. They make lots of money but kill things that they touch. Like making the argument that just because a company is profitable.
Well, what they're saying here, that like, because there's China, and that a large of its tax contribution is important to Chinese populace, that this shows that China is really good, really, really positive game. They're just pro-regulation, which undoes your argument about them being uninherently pro-regulation.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just because the money they make is important doesn't mean they give a shit about like the actual product.
Like their argument is, it starts out with saying, oh my god, if you think that our government is inherently regulatory, that's a bad take. We have gaming, it's just heavily regulated. It's like, yeah, because everything in China is inherently regulated. What part of that did you not understand? Like, it makes you stop and you're a fucking idiot, aren't you?
Well, there's one thing I think we can all get behind here, Dros.
What's that?
Fuck the Communist Party of China.
And here we get to the really
dumb people, just the Communist Party.
And here we get to the really dumb part, right? Like, oh, don't worry about regulations, guys, because you know, they can just grab their parents' cards or buy a great PC card online, or they can go to the gray market and find PC games, stuff like that. Probably pirate a few things. But it's like, you're just telling me that they can just get around the regulation. And you do realize that if China wants to strengthen that regulation, which you're currently doing, they're going to. Like, it doesn't really matter. Oh, well, here's the other thing, is that like, not all the Chinese miners are affected equally. Over 90% of the miners with gaming addiction.
Yeah.
Wow, finally some government cares about the boys. It's just not in a way that actually, it's good.
I think this is the first article in a very long time that said boys most affected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh hey, the boys are most affected, take it away from them. Like they're having fun, take it away. They need to be working in the coal mines now. Okay.
Well, look, if they don't have forced slave child labor, how is Apple and Foxconn supposed to make iPhones?
I'm glad to know that in our female run Western world, we could never hope to have the true amount of gender equality and attention that China has. Yeah. Somebody think of the children.
Oh, China is just not in
the how much longer is this article? Because I'm getting bored with it.
I mean, it looks like we're almost at the bottom there. Oh, of course you were scrolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's mainly just gonna whinge on about like how they're gonna get around with it. They're gonna get around it. The government is going to create new places for the ways to enforce the
It's like an arms race. You make a better weapon, therefore someone has to make a better shield. Then you have to make a better weapon to break that shield, and it just goes on forever.
Yeah, kind of, but it's like more like it's like you're on Alcatraz, right? And you escape, and then the government catches you. You can't get off the island, but you can get a little bit of freedom. So you'll naturally get caught again, and then they build the defenses back up. So each time you escape, it gets that little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a much better analogy. But yeah, just to hell with the CCP. This dead air brought to you by the makers of content. Remember, content is an important part of your daily breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Keep consuming content.
Some only boiling like. So, because I had a really dumb tagline. Good. Swap them over. So, because because we were coming at you at the speed of hate, and there's an old saying, right, that truth has to take the stairs where hate has to take the elevator. But our elevator is terrible and shitty and is worked on by Chinese workmanship, Chinese workers.
But our elevator just crashes to the bottom floor.
Well, ours has really shoddy workmanship on it, yeah. So
I think the actual saying is that well, I'm still altering it, but it would be that, hate and lies go around the world before truth puts its shoes on.
Well, I just recently heard the saying where it's like truth takes the stairs where hate takes an elevator. So it will always spread faster than truth, right? And so I'm like, this is perfect. Perfect.
I mean, while we're on analogies,
but
one.
Well, hold on, let me finish, Shura. So, although our elevator is terrible, we still got up there faster than the truth, so we're a little late to the party. So we're gonna talk shit about it. Go ahead.
I mean, everyone talks shit about Blizzard.
Exactly, so we're so late. Yeah, we're really late, but we get to talk about Blizzard our own unique way, which no one's gonna want to hear. Go ahead with your analogy.
I was just going to say one I like is that opportunity knocks but once, temptation leans on the doorbell.
Well, I've got another one too. No snowflake feels no snowflake feels responsible for Blizzard. Fucked it up in the beginning there, but I feel it worked.
Good enough. Good. You know what? It's passing. I give you 3 out of 10 stars.
Topical. So, to start off, because we play Overwatch, what a fun fucking time it was.
I already see their reasoning in the subtitle. I don't see why it matters. Like, I get being like, if the company wants to say, well, this was a bad thing that happened. Why change a character's name over it, though?
Because he was linked to the Cosby room. We're not going to go over the art.
So what?
When his involvement in
the character is its own thing.
Oh, he can't. Okay, he had group chats. But basically, yeah, they use this as a rule to make it to where no character after over. Over. Yeah. God, I'm sorry. My brain just died on me. Whoever, I just had a grand.
Are you okay? Because I think I felt that aneurysm from
yeah.
you. No,
Fuck.
but see,
I've had
this
too
is
many.
a classic case of someone not being able to separate the art from the artist. Like, I remember a lot of leftists saying that all the time, and in this case, it's actually a thing. It's like, why are you not separating the art from the artist? They're two completely separate things in this instance.
I swear to God, I've only leftist.
I've seen leftist video game commenters, and they say that all the time when it benefits them.
Oh, I guess it's like the Five Nights at Freddy's. Because that.
I don't actually remember anything about that debacle. I know there
Oh.
was some kind of debacle, but I never cared about the game, so I never looked into it.
Okay, so it was a lot like this. So, well, not really. I shouldn't say it. Sound like the guy with Five Nights at Freddy's, like sexually harassing people.
I mean, I could see it if he was wearing those costumes.
Yeah, that would make for a so much more interesting story. Oh my God, we could only live in a true clown world like that. See, that would be like an honest clown. No.
No, we have to live in the dishonest clown.
Yeah, we have to live in the dystopian clown world that has to pretend it's real. It flashes clown face at you. And so
the clown.
yeah.
Oh shit.
So
I've got a new insult for people that I'm gonna use.
So with Five Nights at Freddy's, they basically outed him for Scott Cawthon, I think his name. They outed him as donating to a bunch of Republicans. And they're like, "Oh, you're getting canceled, bro, because it's not okay to donate to people who go against the grain politically, right?" And so he's like, "Okay, I've made so much money that I'm just gonna peace out. Bye, y'all."
I mean,
I believe that's what he did.
The right answer.
He either did that or just said fuck it. I believe he just retired.
No, but I mean, that's the right answer. If you've made fuck you money, just tell them fuck you and walk away.
Yeah.
Or just keep doing your thing and just tell them, look, this thing isn't for you, I guess. Like, again, there's a certain separation between artist and art, I feel. Now, there are points where the lines get blurred or it gets crossed over, and rightly so. Like, there's exceptions to everything, but as a general rule. But yeah, I think we can all agree, fuck Blizzard.
Yeah. Well, see, it's fun, right? Because like I said way earlier, is that it's one of those things that no matter where it goes, it's gonna be a fun shit show. Because the state of California, with its cold, ruthless claws, is slowly just gonna rip Blizzard apart in like tiny little cuts. And a bunch of people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, it's the state of California." Obviously, they have no ulterior motive or any incentive to portray lights as in a negative way as possible. Blah blah blah. See and believe. Right? Listen and believe. And then Blizzard, being the company that sowed that entire culture, has to die by that fucking, not only by the seeds but also by the scythe that's planting. Great.
I just want to say that these times are kind of great, because whether you're on the left or the right, whether you're a normal person or a furry, we can all set aside our hate of each other and remember that we all hate Blizzard.
Yeah, fuck Blizzard. I mean, just I'm not even really sad to see them go. It's not even really Blizzard anymore, right? And the new Blizzard that's gonna rise out of the corpse is gonna be like some communist Zerg thing that's not even remotely resemble. It's already gone now, right?
Yeah, Blizzard has been a husk of their former selves for quite a while.
Yeah, we're just watching the slow molting now. And bonus, bonus round here. They're gonna remove developer names from Warcraft 2.
Which is McCree was clearly the excuse for this move. It's so stupid.
Oh yeah.
It just like you don't have to. Hell, you don't even have to acknowledge that they were named after developers.
See,
and if it's been acknowledged, you just don't acknowledge that anymore. You just
Oh.
leave it alone.
don't have a competent. They probably do. But I know that there were Alex. He has like quite a few people. And I know they're actually this here, the McCree, they actually named a zone in Warcraft called McAfee or something like that. And it was named after him. Like that as a derivative of his name.
Are they changing the zone?
And yeah. And a few other things too. And there's also a few NPCs named after him as well. Yeah. Anyone named McCree has to go. And they, like I said, they made the policy now. Absolutely no employees.
This reminds me a little bit of the retarded arguments in WoW about VC or damn it, I can't remember its name now. It was the mines that we were
Dead mine
at for a while. Yeah.
Sorry, I was taking.
Yeah, the argument about what was it, DM versus VC.
Yeah.
It's literally that petty. That's all this is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
like if you have to be that petty in your company, you really need to have you need to have your coming to Jesus moment, so to speak, where you're like, okay, shit's going real bad. We need to go back to like where we were before we went astray. But they're not going to do that. They're just going to keep going. They're going to keep doubling, tripling, and quintupling down until it's over.
I just thought the headline should have been better known. We will fix Warcraft by removing things.
That's basically what they do, right?
I think they did roll back the one of the changes in Warcraft, like the covenants being off the covenants. But this is way too late. Like your company shouldn't be embroiled in sex scandals for you to be like, oh, maybe we should I don't know, make the game good now, guys. Like that's a really bad business strategy.
Alternatively, if that's what it's required to make them make good games, maybe they should have more sex scandals.
They're going bad, man. It's one of those things. Someone else said, this is what you get when you snuggle up with diversity. You wake up with sexual assault allegations.
Yeah, that's held pretty true.
Yeah. Hey, it'll learn. Probably not. But
there's a term for this. Well, something about becoming woke and then losing your money. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't seem to get it out there.
So we have a rough.
So we can shotgun a few of them.
Well, I figured one I'll leave, right? One I'll leave because it's a pretty big one. Well, I guess we could do it. Yeah, we might as well. That'll cover it. Okay. Alright. We got a couple ones for this.
Understand that if active duty military actually get deployed within the United
shut up,
States,
bitch.
No, autoplay video.
Damn it, bitch. You're later. That's later. Later. That's gonna be next stream.
You are to be seen, not heard.
Yeah. God damn it. Spoiler.
I think I should point out I have never watched Cowboy Bebop.
Oh wow. Really?
Yeah, really.
Well, I guess we shall fix that then. Right? I mean, we have to. It's a really slow-paced anime, like a lot of people say.
I mean, I've heard it's good. It's just I never got around to it. It is on my watch list.
The problem with Cowboy Bebop is the problem with a lot of like really old good movies is that they take a long time to get to the line, like to the main bit that matters. But it's really good. Like a lot of episodes of Cowboy Bebop are just a joy to watch. Like there's one episode where they end up finding the dog that's in their group, right? And like the main character, or one of them, called Spike, has to end up like flying through the fucking, like chasing one guy through town for like the whole episode, and it's just like it's an amazing spectacle. So well done. Yeah, it's just like I imagine I enjoy it a lot more now because I'm older, but whenever I was a kid, I kept seeing it come on, and it would always be like the animated. But the theme song was fucking amazing. Like the music was great. Real folk blues. There's few anime themes better than that.
So after reading the title and the subtitle, and the subtitle is kind of interesting. It says, "The men of genre fandoms don't want their scantily clad female characters messed with. So what else is new?" Well, one, it's anime and damn near everyone is scantily clad. Two, if it's part of the setting, because having not seen it, I do know that in some shows it's a legitimate part of the setting. Of course people wouldn't want it messed with. Or if it's a core component of a character, can be how they dress, you wouldn't want it messed with. So just without knowing anything about the show, my immediate reaction is this seems like a very shallow take that doesn't take the actual material itself into account.
Yeah, basically.
Does that sum it up?
Yeah, like you're not very far off. Basically, what ends up happening is that this actress here, they changed her outfit because she said she didn't look good in it for a few reasons. I can't remember entirely all of the reasons. I believe there was a video. Basically, she changed Faye's costume. She said it was like a little like made out of tissue paper and not realistic, and got caught in her crevices, right? And so people are mad because like you said,
it's anime. It's not real.
Yeah, you're not really sticking true to the character, right? And there's
so out of curiosity, is this particular outfit? Does it have something to do with the character's like personality and the way they portray themselves?
Yeah,
or is it just eye candy?
No, it's both. Like, Faye's backstory is that she uses sex as a weapon. Like,
oh, okay, yeah, then it completely makes
sense. Yeah, well,
like if you have a character that's literally weaponizing their sexuality in some way to get what they want, it doesn't make sense to them then have them not sexualized.
Yeah, she has like
then like a plot might not make sense where a person is using that to their advantage.
She has like a super tragic backstory, basically involving where she learns that like the one person she thought she could trust basically, and that she can never really trust anybody again, so high on sex appeal. How did he get?
Yeah, see, that actually makes what she's wearing an important part of her character, because it actually is showing her personality as opposed to just telling, which is important when it comes to telling a story. Now, if it were literally just pure eye candy, I could see the argument of, look, it was uncomfortable to wear, I didn't think it was realistic. Okay, in that case, I can give you one, right? But when it's a core component of the character, you shouldn't screw with it. Like, there's a reason some characters are the way they are, even if you find it objectionable, because not all characters are nice people that you should, want to be like. Some of them are tragic. Some of them are screwed up, I feel like nuance has gone out the window in favor of political expediency, and it bothers me.
Yeah, it's also a series where the characters are very much living from like paycheck to paycheck, like literally like bounty to bounty. Just one of the like animes from the anime selling, however you want to put it, from the night. I like, even though I never watched, like I watched Cowboy Bebop most of the way through, but kind of disjointed. And so, like, always loved the style of like the bounty hunters that were always starving and going after.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty interesting theme.
It's a good motivation that like every episode they need to go out and hunt some crazy dangerous person because they're gonna have like beef noodles without any beef or some shit, right?
Oh no, anything but that.
No, it actually happens in Cowboy Bebop. He's like, it's special beef, and
I believe it.
Like, there's no fucking beef.
Like, I remember one anime where I don't even remember what it was now, but he loses a bet or something. Money gets taken from him, and he has to start dividing up like his pack of ramen so that it lasts a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, my food money is gone.
Seen some. Like I can think of one in my head, right now, but I can't remember now. Like I can only remember the details of his money stolen and being like a very straight arrow.
All right, shotgun the next one.
Maybe an Ushio and Torio. Oh, okay. Well, this is just the first part. Okay, so the outrage started with the costume.
Okay.
Okay. Then the actress decided to respond.
Yeah, already, just from what we talked about, and knowing that it's a fundamental part of the character they were mad about, the fact it says actress dunks on fans makes it sound like she won some kind of argument.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're trying to bridge.
And the thing is, this is one of those things where the consumer of the content is the one that's correct, not the one making it. So even if she makes a logical argument, it doesn't matter if that's what the consumers don't want from their content. It's a moot point. But go ahead, play the clip, Dros.
Hey guys, so as you know, our Cowboy Bebop first look dropped today, which was so exciting, and I just wanted to address a couple of things that sort of keep coming up in the comments amongst fans. First, I wanted to apologize to the fans that I did not anatomically match the Faye Valentine character. 6 foot, double D size breast, 2-inch waist. They looked everywhere for that woman and they couldn't find her. It's kind of weird. So they just went with my short ass. I know. Am I right? There was talk about, like, can we put Daniela in a time machine and maybe give her different parents so she has different genetic information to sort of
somehow
make her
I don't think
better.
Fans were pissed off about
it proved to be too complicated. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was I want to apologize that the outfit I'm wearing is not exactly what she wears in the anime. We tried. But doing stunts in tissue paper, things disappear, they rip. Sometimes it just got Anyway, like I was saying, that original costume,
Maybe don't make it out of
they made
tissue
a couple of
paper
them, but
then.
like I said, they got
Yeah,
sort of
get a
slurped up
better
in my
wardrobe
various crevices,
budget.
never to be retrieved again. So we needed to really build something that could withstand the test of time. So just,
It's see, the problems with her arguments are many.
Yeah, like the fact that I just did a quick Google search. I'm not gonna show any. Because I don't have any girls I know off the top of my head. But I've seen quite a few girls that have done like the Faye Valentine costume
Oh,
and look
have
really good.
Similar enough measurements to be passable.
So
yeah.
she does exist. Right? I mean, I even say Faye Valentine right there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that happened where it's like, oh, I'm gonna dunk on you because you know I can't change who I am. Like, then they shouldn't have cast you.
But I mean, either A.
Oh,
like, I get like the look actually being important to that character based off what you said, you know, the character is. So why would they cast her?
yeah.
And, you know, it's not like they couldn't find someone who has only a little bit like or no acting experience, but fits the part perfectly and work with that. Like Hollywood's done that before. It can be done. In fact, I will point out, and it's pointed out many times on the well, I say many times, it's pointed out on the tram tour at Universal Studios that the guy who played in I think it was Creature from the Black Lagoon, the main actor was like, oh, you know, giving him problems. And the director was like, I can pull anyone off to do this role. He's like, yeah, will you try it? I quit. The actor literally pulled someone off of like one of their studio tours and was just like, here, you're big enough, put the suit on. Like, it's been done. You can't tell me you need a specific actor if they don't fit the physical qualities of the role they're supposed to be portraying.
Well, that would all matter if, you know, this picture, these are the first shots of the, before she even opened her mouth, because this was what I should have started off. Then the conversation would have probably been different, would have taken different. Maybe not. But, so, these are the first shots of Cowboy Bebop on Netflix. And I know you didn't watch the show, but, the guy who has all the metal on him, black, not black in the anime. and Spike was kind of, he looked white or Jewish. I've heard some people say he looked Jewish because he had like kind of like one of those kinky fros that Jewish people have, and so people were trying to say that he's like half Asian, half Jewish. He definitely doesn't look like.
See, I think this whole thing is whoever wanted to make the movie already knew who they wanted to be in the movie, as opposed to picking someone who is the best fit for the role. I think that's what it boils down to. It's someone wanted to make a movie. They had some friends in the movie industry that they wanted to work with. And instead of doing a movie that would fit them, they picked one that didn't fit them, and they were unwilling to cast someone properly.
Yeah,
that's all it strikes me as. And going into any anime property, people are going to be pissed off when you start changing anything.
Yeah, like even if you just change the ship name, like let's say in, I don't know, in another, I wonder if that would cause a small. Yeah, but like
imagine if you took the Death Star and the fans would not be happy about it. Or if you took one of the battle cruisers from it, painted it a ridiculous color, like whatever ridiculous color comes to your mind, they painted it that. And it's like, why? And that's what this strikes me. Go through proper casting to find people that fit the original characters. Instead, someone had an idea of who they wanted to make the movie with, or who they liked, or they didn't want to go through the trouble.
Yeah.
Lazy.
And this is our Spike.
And the other thing is, if you find people that would actually fit the physical characteristics of the role, but don't, you can pay them a shit ton less money. Like, you can work with that. It's been done.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
but
you remember all the movies that
you're roboting,
but story. Oh,
you're roboting a little.
Sorry, am I still roboting?
Yeah, keep going. You're fine.
Okay, but there's been tons of stories and tropes and movies about, moving to Hollywood hoping to get discovered. What the hell happened to that? You don't need a professional actor every single time for every role, especially if you have someone that fits the role perfectly.
That doesn't happen anymore. No, Hollywood. They're not about like lifting up average people, like finding, like, you don't have directors that are like going to like small towns. Like when they need to cast something like Forrest Gump, or like, like something that you literally need like hometown people, right? You don't go to like to some small town and find somebody and go, oh, you can, like, maybe we can teach you how to act, and basically pay you in that, right? And make a superstar out of it. No, they just go, oh, I need someone who can act like a country.
Yeah, even if they don't look the part, they're not good at doing the performance. And for all I know, she may actually end up being good in the performance, right? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the original material. So even if I give her the benefit of the doubt, it's still bad casting if she can't fit the whole theme of a character. When the theme of a character has to do with a tragic backstory causing them to rely or over rely on their sexuality to get what they want, you're kind of doing a disservice to the character in that case. The other characters, because I've seen pictures of Cowboy Bebop, look nothing like what they're trying to portray either. And it's a big, big leap and problem with suspension of disbelief, in my opinion.
Spike.
Okay.
That's our Spike. A real Spike. That's our Spike. Real Spike.
I have a couple problems here. One, the costume is not on point at all. Like, it's not even the same colors. Two, he doesn't have, like, my hair right now, because I haven't gotten a haircut, is closer to the real Spikes than, anime Spikes than casted Spike.
Yeah, like they got tried to get Spike. I'm not even gonna lie. Spike looks character. Like they nailed basically the look for him. Not Spike. Jet. Right, Jet.
You got an image of Jet, so I can compare them. Okay.
So they did at least do like the aesthetic look of Jet. I feel better.
So now go back to the version they're using in the movie.
So
okay, so my
it was white.
Problems of it is they don't have the amazing beard on him. Like, otherwise, I don't really care. just because he really matches the aesthetic, that's cool with me.
Of like, kind of like budget Olivia Munn. Hey.
But yeah, the other two just, they don't even have the same vibe as the characters, just looking at still images. So just looking at it, it looks like it's bound to fail, because if there's all these details I can pick out as someone who has never seen it that look wrong, I can only imagine what fans are going to do. Like, and the problem is even if it's a genuinely good movie, you've set yourself up for failure because people are going to watch it with an incredibly critical eye. Like, the second you make your audience an adversary, it becomes ridiculously hard to win them over. At that point, you almost might as well cancel the project and work on something else. It's like when, to pick on Blizzard again, when they came out with Diablo Immortal. It's like the second you turn your audience against you, just stop and reconsider your actions. Because even if you are somehow correct, like morally or philosophically, whatever, even if you're correct, it doesn't matter because the people paying for it don't want that.
But Whiskey, Warhammer is for everyone, but
it doesn't matter. The people paying for it don't want that.
It's for everyone, but
it doesn't matter. The people. Go ahead and finish.
No, that's it. It's for everyone, but there's no, like, that's but you, basically.
Yeah, and my point is, it doesn't matter about being good for everyone. You want it good for the people who are going to pay you. So honestly, I think this speaks to a bigger problem of Hollywood just being out of ideas and not knowing what the hell to do.
That's remind.
Like, I struggle to think of a movie in the last, say, 6 to 8 years that I heard about that was coming out that was not a sequel and was not like a remake or readaptation or something, that, a movie that was actually an original, its own thing, that even sounded remotely interesting. So I'm pretty sure Hollywood is just creatively bankrupt at this.
I was trying to find it, but I was trying to find the thread where they had a survey in Japan where they were saying basically what Hollywood adaptation would you want next for anime?
Yeah, I know, because Hollywood keeps doing it wrong. It's like these companies don't understand. It's not if you do it wrong again until they like it. It's if you do it wrong, figure out why it went wrong and change it, even if it goes against your sensibilities.
Well, let's have that, because I don't want to be deemed as bigoted, transphobic, like transphobic, ableist.
Like, there's a reason traditional media is dying, and this is a big part of it.
Oh, dying? It seems like
it's dying.
It seems like the onslaught of woke shows. It seems like because I mean, you have things like Batgirl that got upped for a 3rd season. Terrible. It doesn't look like it's dying.
Yeah, but if you look at the amounts of money any of this stuff is making, it's nothing. It's not nearly what they want it to be making. But so they're basically starving themselves of money at this point. And eventually, because they are a company, they will be out of money and not able to do anything.
Yeah, I just feel like all companies have this new directive from up top to like sacrifice themselves on the altars, right? And so
They do,
and they're just doing it.
and
They
the
don't
people
care.
I guarantee you a lot of the people up top don't realize the ramifications of it until it's too late. It just seems like a good idea at the time from a focus group.
Well, it's also because for them, if they fail a company, they can just jump to another company.
Well, and there's also a good argument of a lot of these companies have been going down for a while, and so I'm sure some of this is just a ploy to try and get a woke audience, hoping that they'll get more woke people than people they lose so that they can try and recover. I'm sure some of these companies are already going broke, and so they're trying to go woke as a last ditch effort, and it's just not working. Because that can go both ways, go woke, get broke. You can also start going broke and get woke to attempt to save yourself. But it's kind of like trying to save yourself from the flu by bleeding yourself. Just like they did in old times. It's like, no, you're not letting out the bad spirits by bleeding yourself. You're just going to die faster.
If I throw on those leeches called diversity inclusion, they'll all be good. They'll cure that smallpox. I know that because
diversity of thought is our strength, not diversity of anything else.
diversity of leech.
Got small leeches, big leeches, fat leeches, thin leeches.
I'll have to find better background. Fire is it?
It's all right. You'll get it dialed.
Yeah, I'll
So
just.
you got anything to end us out with, or?
Oh, I got a few. Little show.
Yeah. It's all right, Dros. Next time, I'll be sure to have content to fill in the gaps when you don't have content and to help contribute more. But with the whole 75-hour power outage I had, and then installing 2 operating systems on my computer.
Okay. No, it's not. It's not the. Yeah, we.
You've got this. I'm rooting for you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to take your word for this. Despite the mounting evidence to the contrary, I still believe you're a professional.
Yeah. Good. These are some video I was picked out. Oh fuck. Oh, I have another. I'll have to save. Okay. I have to think of a. Cause I used to watch the. Oh, and Jon Stewart used to pick out like moment of. So I'll eventually do that. I'll eventually. I wanted to do Biden playing the Hermione.
Instead, I think we need to have a moment of blinding rage.
Oh fuck it.
I'm glad I just immediately changed your mind about what we're playing now. Professionalism. Okay. Is
So I'm gonna play these videos.
Before you play it, I gotta ask: Is this the bar mitzvah to that rap song?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I got our song for out. Play it. Our little video segment.
I have a feeling this guy's gonna do something that I've wanted to do but haven't actually done in the past. What the hell was that? It makes it look like someone just tosses a tire at the
Damn, I need to get where it doesn't say it, show the name. This was a tornado, a fire tornado.
Oh, must be in Australia. When you're going. I don't know what drugs they're on, but they look like they're
I think we're gonna open the show with this for now.